Deion Sanders breaks silence after Browns waste Shedeur's 4 TD game. Deion Sanders was in the building on Sunday to watch his son, Shedeur Sanders, deliver the best performance of his young NFL career against the Tennessee Titans. Shedeur put on a show, throwing for 364 yards and accounting for 4 total touchdowns, 3 through the air and another on the ground. He had Cleveland within striking distance of a stunning comeback, but a pair of failed 2-point attempts ultimately proved costly in the Browns' 31-29 loss. After the final whistle, Coach Prime summed up what he witnessed in a single word. "Wow," he posted on X. He followed it up with a message of gratitude and faith. "But guess what? God is so good. We're gonna praise him consistently with passion and purpose," Deion Sanders said, tagging all of his family members, including Shedeur. Browns QB Shedeur Sanders dealing with stuff behind curtain. Deion Sanders has been in attendance for 2 of Shedeur Sanders' first 3 starts, including his debut in Las Vegas in Week 12. But Sunday marked the first time he saw him take the field as a starter in Cleveland. With Colorado's season wrapped up, Coach Prime also visited the Browns facility during the week to pay Shedeur a visit. It's been an unfamiliar shift for Deion, who coached Shedeur for most of his football life before handing him off to the pros. Shedeur's path hasn't been linear. Once projected as an early first-round pick, he slid to the 5th round and entered the league with something to prove. He's steadily climbed the depth chart and made the most of his chances, a progression his father has watched with pride and perspective. Deion Sanders walked into Cleveland on Sunday expecting to feel nerves, pride, maybe even a little disbelief as he watched his son continue a journey that had taken sharp, unexpected turns since draft night. But he could not have expected to witness the most explosive performance of Shedeur Sanders' young NFL career turn into yet another Cleveland heartbreak, the kind of loss that burrows deep into the gut because of how close victory sat within reach. Shedeur delivered 364 yards, for total touchdowns, 3 passing and 1 on the ground. A masterpiece from a rookie who had spent months fighting for respect, for opportunity, for the right to hold onto a job that was never handed to him. He carved up a Tennessee Titans defense that had no answers for his poise, his confidence, his willingness to challenge windows, and his command of an offense still learning how to evolve around him. And yet, when the scoreboard finally froze at 31-29, it showed only failure, only squandered chances, only the hollow sting of a comeback that collapsed under the weight of 2 failed 2-point conversions. It was a cruel ending, the kind that tests both quarterbacks and the people who raised them. But as he has always done, Deion Sanders distilled the complexity of the moment into something simple and raw. "Wow," he posted on X after the game. A single word that captured awe, pride, frustration, disbelief, and admiration all in one breath. And then, as if to shift the moment upward, he followed it with gratitude, grounding the disappointment in the faith that has carried him through every chapter of his own larger-than-life career. "But guess what? God is so good. We're gonna praise him consistently with passion and purpose," he wrote, tagging every member of his family, Shedeur included. A digital embrace in the aftermath of a day that tested belief as much as it elevated hope. This was the second time Deion had watched Shedeur start in the NFL, and the first time he'd seen him take the field as the starting quarterback in Cleveland, surrounded by a fan base longing for reasons to believe again. With Colorado's season finished at 3-9, a year full of turbulence, injuries, and frustration, Coach Prime had made the trip earlier in the week to visit the Browns facility, to see his son, to walk through a building where Shedeur had been forced to grow faster than anyone planned. For most of his life, Deion was not just a spectator. He was the coach, the guide, the voice in Shedeur's ear on every sideline, the architect of his football education. Now, for the first time, he watches from the stands, offering not immediate instruction but emotional reinforcement, giving not commands but counsel, watching a young man navigate the pressures of the NFL with no safety net and no protective buffer. And what he sees is resilience. What he sees is maturity. What he sees is someone handling layers of pressure that the public never sees. "I know some stuff behind the curtain," Deion admitted, pulling back the veil only slightly, hinting at the unseen challenges. Media scrutiny, expectations, internal competition, personal frustration that Shedeur shoulders as he navigates a professional landscape designed to expose weaknesses with precision. "I offer him not just on-the-field advice, off-the-field advice, life advice, because he's going through a lot. A lot of stuff is coming at him, and he's doing a great job. Thank God that God prepared him for everything he's dealing with. I think a lesser man would have crumbled. But he's been built for this." There was no exaggeration in that claim. There never is when Deion speaks about his sons. The world sees the touchdowns, the highlights, the draft slides, the headlines. But Deion sees everything else. The battles in silence, the moments that bruise confidence, the work that never gets posted, the weight of carrying a last name that comes with equal parts privilege and pressure. And Shedeur validated every word of that praise on Sunday. He stood tall in the pocket, extended plays, delivered strikes with urgency and precision, and brought Cleveland storming back from deficits that would have broken the spirit of most rookie quarterbacks behind an offensive line that bends more often than it holds. By the fourth quarter, he had ignited the stadium, pulled his team within reach, and given the Browns a chance to steal a game that should have been out of reach. But the moment that could have defined the game slipped away with him standing helplessly on the sideline. With everything on the line, a two-point conversion that could have tied the game. Cleveland didn't put the ball in the hands of the quarterback who had delivered every spark. Instead, they turned to a wildcat formation, a trick play, a moment of coaching creativity that dissolved instantly into chaos. Running back Quinton Judkins never secured the exchange, scrambling, panicking, tossing an errant, floating desperation pass that hit nothing but air. It was the kind of decision that invites frustration, especially from a quarterback who lives for moments like those. But Shedeur responded with grace that belied his age. "If I'm out there any play, I would wish I would always have the ball in my hand," he admitted, a truth spoken softly, without indictment or bitterness. But that's not what football is. Sometimes you got to run the ball, sometimes you got to kick a field goal. Of course you would want to. But I know we practiced something and we executed it in practice and we just didn't seem to this day. So, I would never go against what the call was or anything. These were the words of a quarterback learning the politics of leadership, understanding that public criticism fractures locker rooms and erodes trust, choosing instead to own the disappointment without assigning blame. Yet even in defeat, even with the loss cutting deeper because of how brilliantly he played, Shedeur walked off the field with something he did not have before: credibility. This was not a hollow performance padded by empty stats. This was a real game, a real test, a real flash of what he could become in a league that demands quarterbacks be resilient before they are spectacular. For a fifth-round pick fighting for a future, fighting for respect, fighting to justify his opportunity, there are no moral victories, only evidence. And Sunday's game delivered evidence in abundance. The Browns, now turning toward another rough stretch that includes a road test in Chicago next week, remain a franchise in transition, searching for stability at the most important position in sports. But something changed in Cleveland on Sunday. Not in the standings, not in the playoff picture, but in the way fans, coaches, and teammates look at their rookie quarterback. In a season that has slipped repeatedly through their fingers, Shedeur gave them something they hadn't felt in weeks: hope, excitement, a glimpse of possibility. And as Deion Sanders walked out of the stadium, posting his pride and praise online, he understood better than anyone that his son hadn't just played well. He had arrived. Maybe not fully, maybe not permanently, but undeniably. And sometimes, in a league defined by chaos and heartbreak, that alone is enough to shift a franchise's future, one breathtaking loss at a time.